Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcast. I have Natasha Lilly. She's the co-founder of the Royal Animal Health University and creator of the Animal Diet Formulator software. So, Natasha, thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, the creator of the software is CVA. We have taken that over for our, for our clients and developed it into a more applicable program to clinics and things like that I can tell you more about. But he is the mastermind behind it, truly.
Okay. So when you first saw the software and you saw, it makes recommendations on diets for what, dogs, cats, and other animals, or what does the software do? Let's start with that.
Yeah, sure. Our software, designed by Steve Brown, is only right now accommodating dog and cat species. We do plan to expand beyond that, but that's into the future quite a ways. So currently, we have the standards in there for ASCO, which is our American standards, and also the FEDIS standards, which are the European standards for formulating. And all of those are underpinned by the NRC guidelines that are out there. So yeah, and it considers all life stages and then also activity levels up to 10 dogs.
So what's, I've heard like in the news recalls of animals. Actually, there was just one a day or so ago, yeah. So, what happens in animal food? I guess it was an excess. This new recall is a toxic excess of vitamin D in certain foods.
Exactly, that's correct. So we've created the current version that we have available right now for individual users, such as veterinarians and as well as pet parents. And we did that because we wanted to really help shed light on some of the most dangerous or damaging foods are those that are homemade with good intentions, but they're grossly out of balance. Okay, so we'll go back to the recall though too. Okay, so we've got that side of it, and now with this most recent pet food recall, now we've got toxic levels of vitamin D in our processed foods. They found up to 70 times the intended amount of vitamin D in some of these brands. Yeah. So, and these were kibble foods from over 10 different companies. So we start to think, okay, well, maybe it is better to home make for our pets, but let's do that responsibly. And certainly we know this to be true for ourselves. Fresh is better. And there are many fresh food pet food companies out there that are doing a great job. And so, our recommendations are you need to know that company. You need to know your company and know the sourcing, and how do they create the recipes and quality control and pathogen protection measures. And I mean, it's a lot for the consumer to take on. So that's why we also said, okay, for those of you who want to home make, here, let's make it more simple and transparent. And let's put it in an easy-to-share format so your veterinarian can feel good about it.
Right.
Or, from the other perspective, the veterinarian who wants to help their clients to do better, they can look at that and they can share that amongst their professional community and rest assured that it's meeting the nutritional requirements for that species, that life stage, and that activity level.
Well, I guess I could say, I own dogs for many years and stuff. And I guess my assumption, which I guess is probably the assumption of a lot of people, is everyone tells you don't give dogs people food. They don't tell you what people food is, but I just assume like anything I eat is people food, dog food is dog food. So I tend to think like, okay, the pet companies know what they're doing. So if I just give the dogs dog food, I don't even have to think about it. I just give them the food and they're all good.
Right.
And then I've been told, again, don't give them people food, so I shouldn't give them any of my food. So I don't know if that's the mindset of a lot of pet owners. But then when these recalls come, you think, well, all right, now what do I give them? I guess that's why people say maybe I should make my own and give it to them. I don't know what to make. Like if you ask me, what would you give dogs for food?
Yeah.
I would just say, I just figured they're carnivores. They just eat steaks and hamburgers and stuff like that, and they'll like that best. But I guess they need vegetables too. Right. So how do people even start the thinking of what to do?
Yes. Have you, looked at, well, I'll tell you what my pivotal moment was in my career where I realized maybe we're not doing the best we can for our canine and feline companions. I was first year vet student at UC Davis, and I was standing in line for one of the free bags of dog food from the big three companies that we would get every month, and I was reading the label after and looking at the top ingredients, and I started to have this sense of this is probably not the best we could be doing to provide optimal nutrition. First of all, it's in a bag, and second of all, it's like I said, the top ingredients were often grains. So if you've looked into the mouth of a canine or your little cat that lives in your house, you open up and look at those teeth. That's impressive dentition. It might strike some fear into you a little bit. And there's a reason for that. It's designed for ripping and tearing. Their teeth are not designed for grinding and chewing like ourselves. So when you look into that and you think about the species that you're feeding, you think about the biology behind what they need to support that vibrant health that animal can have, that opens up a lot of questions. So what should we be doing, like you asked? It's overwhelming, the choices that are out there today, which is a good and a bad thing because you just don't know what to know about. And there is a danger of not making it yourself. There's always things that in the food that could cause, they could be contaminants or they could be inadequacies or excesses, right? So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And we're also seeing that, if you stop and think about it for a moment, if you consumed a very limited variety of nutrition, so this is what I see. My dog and my cat can't change off of what they eat or they get diarrhea. We think for 1 second, why does that make any sense? What in that statement is good? For ourselves, we know that variety is this type of life. Okay. Right. But it's true. If we don't get variety in our diet, we're missing out on some vitamins and minerals and macronutrient profile variations that can be a healthier way to go. And also, if we're eating from a bag or a can every day, are we feeding optimal nutrition in that food? Probably not.
Right.
So that's why we've gotten really passionate about what we're doing. We see that this is such a big place to come into that needs help.
So for the formulator, does it make general recommendations and then it tailors it depending on the age of the dog and the breed and its circumstance, or how does it work and what kind of recommendations does it give that may be surprising to people?
Sure. Good question. Yeah. So the way this is set up is you can choose if you want to formulate by the standards that are set forth by the American guidelines or the European guidelines. You have to know a little bit about, what that means. So for a commercial company, they come in and they formulate either under ASCO standards or FEDEF, and they know what that means. For the average user, you're going to need to get some foundation before you can just start using this software. And we provide that. So that's why Rahu is such an integral part of what we do, the Royal Animal Health University. is because we can educate our clients that will be using this software on how to use it well. Because as you know, with anything, you can use something to its best ability, or you can maybe use it and get something out of it that shouldn't have been made. So that's how it could be with a diet as well. I mean, you can make a vegan diet balanced and complete, quote unquote, for a dog, or even more frighteningly so for a cat with this program. But is that biologically and species appropriate? No. So we will teach about that side of it, what to look for and how to formulate well for the species at hand.
All right, so what are some examples of where people go wrong in making food for their dogs or cats at home, and, what recommendations do you have in general so that, in case they don't use the software or they just kind of figure out what to do, they do it right?
Right, absolutely. Well, come to our website, for one, at the animaldietformulator.com, because we have tips for formulators there. And so those can serve as general guidelines. We're always going to be adding to that page with videos and information to help guide you, as well as, like I mentioned, taking some of our more advanced courses for formulation that we will charge for. But the information that I just mentioned previously is free. So some of those just general tips. A lot of people think that dogs and cats should eat like themselves, and that's why we see people, vegans, trying to eat their dogs vegan, and so we see some pitfalls to that. So
you should have like an anthropomorphic formula for dogs.
They're fur children, I mean, it's true, and they very much so are treated that way today, which is why you see this movement to people wanting to home make more. But in the wake and the considerations of that, these animals would be eating a whole animal. What does that mean? That means they would be eating the organs, the entrails, not such pretty things to think about. So some of these diets, and if they're going to be complete and balanced using whole foods, we are looking at every time adding organ meat. So, things like kidneys, liver, spleen, sometimes those are included in our formulation. Now,
I'm sure dogs love that stuff.
Well, they love it. Yes, absolutely they do. The palatability guidelines are important too, because you can achieve balance, but there's only so many spices you can put in a cat's food, and they're going to turn their nose and their tail up at you and walk away and say no thanks. So that's important as well.
I've heard that dogs and maybe cats, the smell is more important than the taste. Like, they don't really taste much, and it's really the smell. So is that true? And then how does that change how you formulate something right and wrong?
Good question. Yeah, so smell is definitely hyper-developed in dogs and cats beyond what we're capable of. So they definitely will pick up on that first, and that is an important thing. Sometimes we do things to enhance so if you have a raw food, just as we know, there's just not as much smell to it, right? So if you're offering something in its raw form, sometimes what we recommend to entice the animal on first offering something new is to just sear the outside. So when you cook something, it smells, you get some of those aromas going, and they like that just as much as we do.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a helpful thing to do. And as well as the palatability recommendations, I mean, again, every animal is going to be a little different, but we do have guidelines on percentages of certain items to add in so that you don't exceed those and then get disappointment with the food bowl not still being full.
Right.
So, yeah.
What about feeding the dog or the cat, from your hand, or feeding it personally? Or, I heard some people, they should literally mix the food with their hands, like your smell is mingled in with the food. Is that a good idea?
If they aren't wanting to eat it, that is a deeper problem. I think if you entice it, so you can, like I said, cook it lightly, sear it on the outside, You can also even add a little bit of butter on top, melted butter. There's certain appetite enhancing additives that we'll add in, like I just said, butter being one of them. And that just helps the animal to say, oh, yes, this is good. And then they start to eat it and they realize, oh, this is really great. But if you're really having to coax an animal into eating something, that's a sign you should pay attention to. Maybe that animal isn't feeling well. Maybe that animal really doesn't want to eat that food, and you need to change it up and offer something a little different. So do consider that. If you're having to hand feed that animal, I really think there's something wrong there because, we have that old adage like, wolf it down. Well, our dogs and cats, they are not grazers. They should go in and they should wolf it down. It should be gone. And it shouldn't be like, we leave food out all day. No, that shouldn't be the way it is. They should be very excited to eat it. And then when it's gone, it's gone. If they're hungry, that's the way it should be.
But then they look at you 2 seconds later as if you never fed them.
Yeah, and that can be a problem. But you'll find that, there will be some that will have those more voracious appetites that you're always having to try to find low-calorie, filling treats to fill in the gaps with.
Right,
We definitely, as part of what we want to educate about is body condition. We want people to be aware that there's as much of an obesity epidemic in our pet population as there is in our human population. And diabetes and metabolic disorders are very much up there in line and lockstep with the human population. So we are asking people to take a look at that, whether they're individuals or veterinary professionals, and really pay attention to where that animal is with its body condition. If it's overweight, that needs to be addressed. That's the most important thing you could do is actually have that pet get down to a healthy weight for longevity purposes.
Okay, and then any recommendations of what to eat, what not to eat, any no-nos or good stuff?
So, yes. But what it is for that, so for the absolute no-nos, if you're looking at dog and cat, no chocolate, okay, I think most people know that. No onions, no grapes. So those things, if you're feeding something that you ate, your people food, and you season that with a bunch of onions, don't do that. Just don't offer that. We've also, through years of conditioning them to eat crunchy dry foods, if you look at the content of what's in those from the nutrition label, they're high in carbohydrates. So as we go to formulating fresh foods, we look at the quality and quantity of carbohydrates that are in the food. Again, we'll make guidelines for those macronutrient profiles to help you out with that. We see some beautiful weight loss when we lower the carbohydrate levels from conventional formulations that you might find out there in commercially available dry foods. If that's what you're trying to achieve, it's pretty profound and really satisfying when you just change those macronutrients around to support a little higher protein and fat and lower carbohydrates.
Okay, so like low carb is good. So meat, vegetables, fat, a few grains, a few carbs, and then that's pretty much the direction to go in for dogs and cats.
Yep, and not all carbs are created equally, just as for yourself, so veggies have carbs in them. We can get carbs from grains, we can get carbs from sugars. So we just will educate about, why you would want to add one carb type over another. Again, yes, if you imagine a cat eating a whole mouse, which is very natural, by the way. I've had friends call me up and say, "Oh my God, my cat, I ate a mouse." And I
say good paw and say thanks, good luck, good job.
Yeah. But in that animal's GI tract are some carbs. They ate some vegetables, some grains. So it's not like you can't have that. but we just need to be aware of what those are and where they're sourced.
It's weird, like my dogs love pistachios, and they can hear if I'm opening up the wrapper of something, like they instantly come running. They know. So I guess their hearing is really good for food sounds too, and they know immediately if you're going to eat something.
Yes, absolutely. They get conditioned, I mean, my horses are the same way. They know where the treat jar is, and their little ears perk up, and they'll talk to me about it, start pawing at the door. Yeah, so, they're very in tune with you and what you're eating, which is why it is fun when you tell people you can feed some of the same things that you eat to your pet. Let's just do that with some education behind it.
Okay. Well, very good. So how can people access the software? Do they have to go to a vet, or is there, can they go online and type some stuff in and get recommendations, or, what's some resources for people?
Sure. So we have currently on our animaldietformulator.com website, you can go there right now and you can buy our individual user program software. That is only working on PCs at the moment. We'll accommodate our Mac users soon, I promise, in the beginning of the new year. And then we have a commercial version, which will help commercial companies that make dog foods or cat foods and treats to be able to use our software to formulate. And in that version, we have over 1,500 ingredients that they have access to. We have a commercial formulator consultant that can help them so that they know better what to do with this software. And that will be coming soon in the first of the year. That'll be available as well. So that's kind of where you can go. Also, we have individual recipes. Let's say you don't want to do the software. You just want a recipe. For $2.99, you can go to our website, the same one, and find an individual recipe for your dog or cat. Those are some nice options. If you have an animal with health conditions that need to be considered, we have a consulting service as well.
Well, you said people want to feed their pets what they eat, so you have it set up there too. So let's say your religious beliefs, let's say you're a Muslim, and you don't want to give your dogs pork because you can't touch or eat it, or you're kosher, you don't want to, or you're a vegan and you think your dog should eat that way or something, or you're vegetarian and you're against animal cruelty. Does the formulator account for that? Does it ask you about yourself and then offer alternatives that still are healthy?
That's a great question, and we have done that in our consultation service. So if you go into our website and you say, look, I don't want to become a formulator. That seems overwhelming. But I do want to feed fresh, and I've got these considerations of allergies or whatnot that I need to specify for my pet. So then you would just request a consult with us, and it would allow you to fill in all of that information and more.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I guess maybe that'll be baked into the software at some point too, on some low level,
Exactly. Well, you're hitting on it. That's in our future plans. We want to make this available in a way that anyone could access and plug in 10 basic parameters and be able to get something that they can use. So that's futuristic. But we are on that podcast right now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, very good. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast and your time and everything. So what's again a resource for listeners? Where should they go? Yes.
For more information, you can either go to royalanimalhealthuniversity.com or animaldietformulator.com. We also have a good presence on Facebook and Instagram, and we post regular educational and fun information on animal health-related topics. So we'd love to see you there.
That's great. Natasha, thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.